This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lorea's, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
PTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL, Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. I made it back to the studio, people. It was not let's just say I've never been known as a exceptionally bright planner when it comes to time. There's certain things I'm really good at. There's certain things I'm not. And I thought that, heck, I could fish this Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic in Wabasha, Minnesota yesterday with a 4 o'clock check-in and then drive 12 hours back to the studio in Moore, Oklahoma in time to have today's guests on, which is Dean Rojas, fresh off of his second best performance in BPT. He has a win under his belt before. I think that might have been kind of during a spawn event too, but just finished second in this last one on Lake of the Ozarks, doing things a little bit differently. So we'll get a quick recap with Dean of the tournament, but then I want to get into some stuff that I don't think Dean's talked a lot about. And it's kind of the nitty gritty of one of the reasons why I think he's one of the most successful guys who's ever done this. Anyway, I made it. I got in the truck and I plugged it in, and it was like, boy, it says I'm going to get to the studio at like 7:30 in the morning. I said, well, that gives me like half an hour to take a cat nap, and I was awake. I was wide awake. I made I made sure I was safe. Jeff Crete taught me the rule of two. If you see two invisible animals, like if you see like a rhinoceros in the road, that's like one. And then the next thing that doesn't exist that you see, that's the rule you have to pull over at the next exit. So I did not see any like imaginary like reindeer and Santa sleighs across the road driving. So I made it into the studio. I have Dean Rojas on the line, and dude, you know why I was so jacked up was how well this Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic went. Not from a fishing standpoint for me and Adam Bartuzek. Yes, I did have a 556 smallmouth on day one that slacklined a jerkbait 5 feet from the boat. And then I said, with the team partner, you could be the most proper person on earth, but when you hook a giant smallmouth next to the boat, you just start yelling, net, 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 net. And that thing thrashed around, and it came off in the net, and it was, outside of Thousand Islands, the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught. So, dude, that event is absolutely insane. Over $700,000 raised for St. Jude, bringing the total over the 24 years of that event to over $5 million. First class, I know Jacob Wheeler's fished it before. I think Perrick from the Guggen Squad's fished it before. Some of the bigger name guys have fished it. But, man, from the time you get there until the time you leave, it is just a first-class run event with a lot of the focus on St. Jude and the kids and families that organization impacts. Fat Cat Newton actually emceed that event, and I'll say it, I've been kind of impressed with Fat Cat over the last year, kind of his transition from an on-the-water reporter for the National Professional Fishing League, and then he kind of jumped in the studio with Luke Duncan, and at first I knew him as the guy who wore like the crop tops and had the nicknames and stuff, and I think he's making a real run at it. So I said, dude, I said, I want to get you on BTL. I said, I don't even know your real name, man. I said, and I said, you did a great job hosting the St. Jude. I think you're doing a good job on the TMPFL. I was like, you down to do like an interview, not as like Fat Cat, quote unquote? And he's like, yeah, dude, absolutely. I've never done that before. I would love to do it. So we're going to get everyone, all his friends and family call him B. We're going to get B's story, which is Fat Cat Newton's story, on Wednesday, and then a great show tomorrow. Sid Reeves from Spro and Gamakatsu there. outside of Atlanta is where they're located. He's going to come on, and I've always wondered, we followed how Bradley Hallman kind of designed the BFE from concept to prototype to tweaks to market, and that was really cool with the soft plastic. But I've always wanted to know how that works with a hard bait, and Sid is really good with that. We're coming with a lot of different SKUs in the past couple years with Spro, so we're going to get Sid on, and it's going to be an educational show, a hard baits educational show, how it goes from concept to the shelf to where you can buy it. So we're going to take our first break of the morning. I don't even have notes today, but we got Dean Rojas in the queue, and we will be back in just a second. It is BTL on a Monday, May 9th.
Time for you to get Active Target Live Sonar is now. Purchase Active Target or an Active Target Elite FS bundle between May 1st and July 4th. You'll get $200 cash back and change the way you fish. Target fish with Active Target and let Elite FS handle the rest. Active Target is also compatible with HDS Live and HDS Carbon. Active Target by Lowrance.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Welcome back, BTL on a Monday. Going to a guy who I knew probably would do well in this. I don't know if he even likes to talk about it, but I do believe that this tournament took place over May the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. The beginning of May. I see him shaking his head there. It is none other than Dean Rojas. He looks like he's made it back to his home in Arizona. What's up, Dino? How are you?
Good morning, Matt. It's good to be back. And after a cold, wet, rainy week, Lake of the Ozarks, but a very good week, obviously, with the showing and everything. And, time for some time off right now. So I'm enjoying the dry air here in the desert.
I mean, it's no secret. Like, you've done some stuff before with it's Star Wars, not Star Trek, right? I've never seen. You've made me watch like 5 minutes of one, and then I fell asleep on the couch one time. But you actually like celebrate May the 4th?
Well, I don't celebrate.
I mean, like, you wake up, you're very aware that it's like May the 4th, so you had to be happy you were fishing on May the 4th.
Yeah, actually, I was fishing, so I didn't. When I get out there, I lose track of days, months, time. I mean, everything just disappears when I'm in tournament mode like that. It's very. I totally forgot about it until my son Austin, Little Machine, he's like, "Hey, Dad, happy May the 4th be with you." I'm like, oh, I totally missed it, and all that. Because, when Matt, when you get into it, man, everything is dialed.
Trust me. Trust me. You don't even want to know what the last month has been like, Dino. It's been absolutely insane. It's been 3 opens and the St. Jude with 4 days in between where I film 4 live shows or 3 live shows and then record 3 for the next week. And then it's been Tennessee, Virginia, Mississippi, and Minnesota. And like I said, I drove all night and I'm just back now. And I'm not complaining about it at all, but I mean, like, it's hard to try to get a grasp on quote real life. Like, I just went back to my house. Like, you could literally film Jumanji in half of my yard.
Yeah, it's like that. It's the fishing season right now, Matt. And and you're as passionate as anybody that I know of the whole fishing industry and taking over BTL and all the responsibilities you have now on top of just competing wise. You got a full plate. So it's welcome to my world. That's the way it's been for the last 25 years on my end. Just constantly, trying to work with the sponsors and the events, the travel time. So what people don't understand is us living on the West Coast, I have an extra 2 days of travel outside of the guys who are living in the Midwest, because it's a day to get there and a day to come back. So I spend a lot of time on the road, a lot of times in airports, just trying to get to an event and so forth. So back in the day when we used to drive back and forth, I know about all those purple elephants and green giraffes across the road, because when you're going through New Mexico and Arizona, there's nothing out there. Okay. So the cactuses start to look like monsters as you drive by, on the highway. And with that, so I was pumped up on Mountain Dew, M&M, Snickers, Hershey bars, whatever it was, to try and stay awake, because I wanted to get home, at 8 o'clock in the morning, the next day, drive all night, So I know exactly what you're going through right now, and you probably are all caffeined up, as you always are. And so,
yeah, no, I do it safe. That's the thing. Like the best, as soon as you start drift or anything, like it pull over. Like, especially now with the GPS, you can be like, okay, I've got to go like 6 miles and I'm good to go. But like during it one time, I was on like that I-40. That's just, you pretty much know that by heart, between Memphis there and Oak City. And I was like, I was convinced I was driving into like a giant tunnel on the side of a mountain, and but my mind is sitting there going, we're in Arkansas, like this is not, we're like around Lake Dardanelle. There are no, I know there's Mount Nebo there, but like there's no like tunnels, like giant underground tunnels that you're driving into the side. I was like, all right, we're stopping in Russellville for the night.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call.
But have you found, dude, you've been doing this, how many years have you been doing this now? Like 26, 25?
So the Invitational started in 98 here on the West Coast. So I've been doing it since then. So what are we, 22, 23, 24 years now.
Yeah.
Pro.
Do you find, so like we're like halfway through the year already,
yes,
which to me is shocking to me, like as a opens angler. Now I literally was like, okay, we got Florida, we got a couple months, I'll get all the rest of my stuff like 100% dialed in, organized, and we'll go from there. And like I'm sitting here right now and the year's half over and I'm like, where did it go? Do you feel like that every single year, or have you got it to where you can actually slow time down, so to speak, and manage it so it isn't just a whirlwind where you're surviving but you're actually thriving?
No, it's actually a whirlwind. It seems like the older I get, the faster things fly by, and I'm so, as tuned when I get out there and I'm competing, you just, like I said, you lose track of time. And, you have your schedule on your competing days, your practice days, your travel days, where you're going to hold up for a week, all that stuff. And then next thing you know, it's May or April, and you're like, we just started this in February, and all of a sudden now the whole spring is gone and you're moving, wherever the tour is going. That's the place in the States where, the spawn is happening or not happening, or, it's just, still winter. Our first couple of Bass Pro Tour events were pretty cold, as you guys saw, and and then you get thrusted into like a spawn post spawn deal, and so you're constantly trying to make adjustments and trying to stay on top of the fish at that high a level with that caliber of fishermen, so it just takes everything you got to perform at that level, and I've been doing this a long time, and man, it is hard. It's really hard. It's always hard, but it's just the way things are evolving. And, I'm just, I enjoy what I do. I love fishing against the best guys in the world. That's what gets me going. If you saw the live footage on the last day, dude, I was ready to crawl out of my skin. Yeah. All right. I've been doing this for so long that I still have that. And I still have that want and that kill mode basically is what you need, for that. And that's how those guys have it. They just want to beat you down, just because they want to win. We all want to win. That's why we do it. So it's still there. Is
there anybody out there that you can think of over the course of your career that has been uber successful but doesn't have the quote unquote killer instinct? Because I know that you do, but like Like you really want to beat people. It doesn't matter who it is. You want to beat people. I mean, like it seems like Kevin's got it. Edwin's got it. Wheeler's got it. Like, I don't know. Does Jordan Lee have it, or is he like?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I say Jordan Lee only, except when it comes to his brother Matt. So like anytime he has something on Matt, I mean, he's hammering on him. I mean, he calls him Maddie, okay, which is a girl's name. I mean, so
that's what everyone calls me.
Call you Maddie?
Yeah, a lot of people. It's the hockey thing back there. You just had a Y on the end. It was either had an ER to the end of the last name or a Y to the end of the first name. So it was either Maddie or Panger.
But I mean, I've seen Jordan just hammer on Matt, and I'm like, dang it, man. But he doesn't say that to anybody else. Jordan's a very soft-spoken person, but incredible angler. Very talented, and so very successful at that point. And he just has that, that attitude of just, yeah, man, it's cool, man. Let's go. Let's go catch 7-pounders and let's go catch 5-pounders. And me, I'm trying to do everything I can to try and catch one 5-pounder, And so, it's just part of it. It's okay, And that's what's so cool about Bass Pro Tour and all those guys, because they're all different, They all have different personalities. They have different quirks about them. And and I know all of them because I watch them and I've been around for a long time. So you see how they interact and what they do, and they're all different, but they all share that gene of just want to fish, the love of fishing at a high level against the top tier guys.
Talking about top tier guys, like I said, you just finished second in the Bass Pro Tour on Lake of the Ozarks, and there were some guys that did it the way I thought it would be done, and you seem to do it in a non-traditional way, but a heck of a top 10 there, and it was a throwback. I remember I texted Dave Rush, and I was like, man, KJ and Dino both made the final round, and then you look at it, and you had a Bass Pro Tour rookie, Jeremy Lawyer, there, but I mean, let's be honest, if Jeremy Lawyer doesn't make the top 10 on Lake of the Ozarks, something's wrong there. JVD was in there, and you just assume that Jacob Wheeler's going to be there. But Jesse Wiggins won the thing. I think that has a lot of relationship to Smith Lake and the way that he's able to break that down. That translated to Lake of the Ozarks. You can comment on that in a minute. But man, Dean, you were there with Wesley Strader, Stephen Browning, Kelly Jordan, Andy Morgan, and Mark Rose. Man, those are some guys that are. I mean, there's a lot of championships. There's a lot of top 10s. There's a lot of won events between that. Did you guys in the morning of the final morning be like, what's up? This is kind of cool.
No, not really. We got there. It's been raining all week. So I got there early because I wanted to get underneath the boat stall. So I didn't have to sit in the rain all morning because I knew we'd have to do the whole day. So I just sat in the slip, and then Jamie Lawyer was just two stalls over from me. And he's kind of quiet, he doesn't say a whole lot. He's a rookie, but that dude can catch them. I mean, everywhere we go, he catches them. I mean, he's doing really good in the points right now, and super impressed with his consistency all the way through that. And he probably has the most logos, floor graphics, of any of the pros on the market on the tour right now. He must have like 25 logos all over the place. And when you see him come on in, you just go, God, look at all those logos. And he goes, man, we got to support him. I said, I know, dude, but that's cool. It's cool to see that. And it's cool that you embrace it all and stuff. So he's a nice guy, and look forward to, competing against him the rest of the year and the years to come. So
how do you get those logos off? I put a Bass Zone logo on like my old Skeeter, and then it just was like Bass Zone in a lighter shade when I took it off. Is there a secret that you guys have to making that carpet look new, or do you recarpet the front and back decks when it's time to sell that thing, or you just keep the logos on?
Sometimes they like the logos on there, like my big Suzuki logos that I have. They cover a big span, and they look good. They look nice, on my Blazer. So with those, but a lot of times, man, it's just keeping the carpet clean. And you say, well, Dean, you're on the road all day, and all the time, and you're going down the highway in the rain and all that stuff. But it doesn't hurt to stop into a power wash and power wash your carpet, and getting all that grime and dust and dirt, and get it off the deck, and keeping the carpet clean, because underneath that logo is completely clean because it's cut off from all of the bad stuff. So that's the only thing. And then my logos are not on there very long, so they get put on in January and they're off in September. So you look at 8 months, 9 months. on there, and then it get peel back off. So we don't have that where it's, you can see the definition when you peel it off. We're like, damn, there was something right here, before. We really don't have that problem with that. So unless the guys want to keep the graphics on the deck. So
as a side note, I was just curious about that. I want to get back to Lake of the Ozarks though. A lot of guys focused on bedding bass in that event, even though they were hard to see. I had Alton Jr. on before the event, and I was like, dude, I think I take 100 pounds a day and blah, blah, blah. And, I talked to a couple like Justin Lucas and a couple guys, and they're like, man, like 2-pounder is pretty solid fish on, Lake of the Ozarks. And if it had been a pound 1.8 or even 112, you would have seen how many fish guys were catching. But you kind of did something that I thought was interesting when I watched it live. Now, kind of run through your days, and did you mix sight fishing in? But it seemed like you kind of bucked the trend and went with the bladed jig, and then even fished that in an interesting manner to make the final day.
Yeah. So when I got there, I hadn't been there in 20 years. I fished an invitational back there in 2001, and that was the only thing, and that was in November. But anyways, so when going into it, that's a monster of a lake. If you guys have not been to the Ozarks, it is a monster. I mean, there is no way you can cover that lake in like a week. If you had a week, you probably couldn't cover it all. And so the first morning I ran all the way up the river, because trying to get away from everybody. And I realized I'm running away from nobody because there's the lake just swallows up 80 guys. I mean, I didn't even see anybody, the first 3-4 hours. Anyways, my practice, I went up the river in the dirty water and it was, catching little ones and, nothing. I mean, where they're supposed to be, they weren't. And so I started to like, man, what the heck, it's supposed to be really good. So ended up coming back down the lake. And then as I got closer, the water got clear, obviously. And then the last couple hours I go, I'm going to go up there and take a look around in the clear water. Bam. Then I start seeing them and I'm like, oh, I missed that one. So it was only 2 days of practice. I mean, on a lake that big, you're just like, oh gosh, tomorrow is my day. I've got to just cover as much ground as I could. So the second day I went all the way into clear water, went down by the dam. And Matt, it was just one of those deals. You've been with me when I've been sight fishing. I document everything, on how big it was next to this, stump or tree or lay down or rock or whatever it might be. I write everything down, so I know
you
exactly.
still use paper?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. I used the map.
You still use a paper map?
Yeah.
Really?
For that, I do. And I use it. I have a map of Lake of the Ozarks of all 3 of the arms. So I was looking at all my paper maps beforehand.
All right. I want to go back to that. I want you to get your story done there. I'll take you down a wormhole on this because I'm shocked that you still use it. I figured you just went into the rants and
yeah, I mean,
notes now, but
I'll let you know because at that point, when I got in and around those docks, I was just burning bank. And if I saw one on the bed and it didn't swim away, I hit a waypoint.
Okay.
And so I ran on like 8 or 9 the whole day with my Lowrance trolling motor. And I never ran out of juice. There was no way I could have done this 12 years ago, 10 years ago without the technology we have today. With the Ghost trolling motor and my lithium pro batteries. I mean, there's just no way it'll work. Anyways, so that's all I did, Matt, for like 9 hours was because I had to be up at 6. Is hit waypoints, waypoint. And I would fish a little bit if I saw one because I needed one to start on. So I'm like, this is gonna be a sight fishing deal, right? So and they were calling for good weather the rest of the week. Well, the first round, the guys caught them really good, and the group A. And so I was thinking, well, Group B, we go out there and we had a beautiful day, sunny day, high, like almost 80, perfect sight fishing day. I catch a 5 and I catch another 5 and a bunch of 4s and stuff. So I'm in 7th place after our round, and I feel good about it. And then, but I'm noticing too that the water's dropping, and then the front came in, and the weights are not gelling with what they should be. And the water started cooling down. So the second day I go out there and I'm like, well, I'm just going to go, look for some side fish, but I'm going to leave the last hour and a half. I'm going to go try, because I caught some on chatterbaits in practice when I was just fishing that dirty water and a different technique. And so when I went ahead and did that, I caught my limit. I was in the knockout round, and I was like, I caught 3 bass in 5.5 hours, and that is not going to cut it in the knockout round. My fish were going away. I mean, they were going away, and I knew it. And I said, so anyways, I made the run, and they put a camera with me for the last, I don't know, hour, because I was in the area. Anyways, I ran, and I pulled up to my first stretch, Matt, and on about the 5th cast on the chatterbait, I hung a 5.4. I mean, a 5, a 5.5, whatever it was. Bring them around, boat them in, boom, got them, and I go, gosh, and then I go, I know what I'm going to do in the knockout round now. Then I went down a little bit further, caught another 2.5, and it was a lot faster pace. I could catch them quicker, and that's what I needed for the knockout round. So the knockout round, that's what I did all day long, was throw the chatterbait, and I mixed in some sight fishing as well when I would come across it, because when I'm casting that bait. And the way I was working it, I could look out, in the water as well. So I was scanning. So, and, a lot of them had left because the water was coming in, but then it started to rain. And, but the way I was working the bait, Matt, was interesting, because when I caught that 5-pounder, it was a little bit off the bank. It was almost like a bad cast in a way, And then I started winding, because the camera guy was talking to me at the time, and winding, and that thing smoked it, right? So I'm like, there's a little off the bank, but no, they got to be on the bank. So you see them up there. Some casting, nothing, right? So then I start to wander out a little bit. I cast a little bit further out, and I catch another one. So I'm keeping. So the bite is in from 6 to 10 feet of water. Okay, and the way I'm working it at that time, the fish were pretty active because the front was coming in. So they would travel a couple feet to come get it. And then towards the end of that day, I ended up catching another 5-pounder late in the knockout round. I caught 2 bedfish, and then I caught that 5-pounder, which got me into the final round. Okay, but I was so excited because I knew because I caught 5 or 6 on that chatterbait, that I could do the numbers and stay. I could have a chance to win, because the fish were moving off the bank, and the way I was fishing parallel, I was in the strike zone the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I cast it out, let it sink to the bottom, and walk and crawl it and walk it on the bottom. It's almost like a wobblehead type deal, like you would do with that, but with a chatterbait. And so when I would be working it, and the strikes were not like a bam, it would just all of a sudden just get heavy. I mean, you wouldn't even feel a tick. I mean, it would just there'd be all of a sudden it was there, And a lot of times when I came over a rock, or if I hit a stump down there or whatever, whenever it deflected, it would just get heavy, and it would load up on my rock, and it just, it was one of those deals. And we do it out here in Havasu. We fish a chatterbait really deep, in water, like anywhere from 25 to 6. So I'm used to that type of way. I know how they bite the bait and stuff. So for me, it was pretty natural. I mean, I knew what to do with it. And it turned out to be the deal. I caught 9 bass the final round. I never lost a fish. I never lost a keeper. I never had them on to win. And so for me, I was at 100%. There's nothing more I could have done. All my equipment was perfect. My gun, hooks, sunlight, all that stuff was perfect.
Wiggins just caught one more than you.
Yeah, he had a 2-pounder. That's all I needed. And so, I just got beat on that aspect. But in the sense of trying to control your variables that are in your favor, I did all that. I checked all those boxes because nothing came off, and it all comes down to decision making. On where you should be, how you should fish, and so forth. And I don't regret any of it. I fished in the moment where I thought that I can catch the biggest and the most on that final day, and and it's kind of ironic, because when I won Smith Lake in Alabama, that was Jesse Wiggins' home lake. Okay, I mean, he was the favorite to win that one, and he got knocked out in the knockout round. He never made it to the final round. I happened to win there on his body of water. So I kind of look at it, with him at Ozarks. It's not my home lake, but he got his day, and I'm super happy for him. He's a young, aspiring angler. He's got a young family and everything. I know I've been there, I know how important a Bass Pro Tour win is, and the trophy and all the stuff that comes with that. And, to see a young man like that, with a career, in front of him and having that, as a foundation to build off of, that's cool, man. That's awesome. That's what it's all about. I've got 5 of those trophies, and, I've got the world record catch. I got a lot of great things in my career. So I know how special each one of those are. And I'm just super pumped, super congratulations to Jesse Wiggins.
That is cool. He's currently 4th in the Angler of the Year standings, and has won $145,000, and it's May. So I mean, if you go look at some of the earnings now, obviously $100,000 win helps, but I mean, you're at $62,000 already this year. There's some money to be made over on the BPT. Like, it's kind of impressive when you look at the earnings next to their names.
Matt, that's not even including the heavy hitters that they had, a couple weeks ago, and then the Red Crest. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of money surrounding the Bass Pro Tour, and the guys get that level. They're clawing. They can't wait to get in. We have the post circuit, guys. They can't wait to get in, and because they know when they get there, our entry fee level are very minimal. So
it's not in there. Bob Lane.
It's a great business deal.
Bob Lane is only down there at 21,223. No, I got the extra $300K in there for that. Hey, Clay Williamson says on the messages, he says that chatter gets it done everywhere, which is definitely something that I want to talk to you about taking that bait. And I think I was rooming with you covering the Elite Series when you kind of discovered the power of the bladed jig. So if you're good for another segment, I want to take a break and then come back. We'll talk about the bladed jig, and then I really want to talk a little bit about your simplistic approach to the Elite Series back in the day that you developed and then have taken over to the BPT, which is working. So, you good? All right, it is BTL on a Monday. We'll be back after this.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us. But none of them knew us.
None of them were us.
Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at denalirods.com.
All right, welcome back to BTL on a Monday, talking with Dean Rojas, fresh off of his second place finish in the BPT on Lake of the Ozarks. And Dean, you talked a little bit about how you fish that bladed jig. Are you okay with calling it a chatterbait? I always call the dang thing a chatterbait. It's a chatterbait. What? I know you do the same thing too. You catch yourself.
Yeah. Everybody knows what it is. It's I'm impressed by it for the sheer quality of fish that you catch on it. And you would think that a lure like that, as many people are throwing it, that the fish will be getting used to it, and they're not. I mean, it's incredible that, when Beehive, when all those tournaments, back in Florida and all that time, and the craze, and the old style, chatterbait back then. This is the jackhammers, like one grade up from that. It's incredible that everywhere you go, it catches them. And not only does it catch them, you catch big ones on it. So when you look at that, there's very few lures, if any, that can do both like that all year round. It doesn't matter if you're throwing it in wintertime, or in the heat of the summer or in the fall, you're going to catch them on it. And whatever that sound, vibration, all that, the way it works down there, man, that it is those fish love it, and it's not like, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, spotted bass, all that. They love that bait. And you look at the guys on the tour, and if you've watched a lot of the live on Bass Pro Tour, there's a lot of guys throwing it because you can cover a lot of ground. When you get a bite, it's going to be a one, it's going to be a 1.8 or 2 or anything, whatever our size limit is, or our weight limit is on each event. You're gonna that's the kind of quality you're gonna catch. So it's just, I don't know what it is. I me, I like to keep it simple, but you keep getting drawn to it. That's all you want to throw, because your confidence is so high, and you're going to catch them on it. Like I used to throw a square bill all the time. I don't throw it anymore. And spinner bait. I mean, all that stuff. It's just you have a couple of niche things where I caught one on a frog. On the final round. And now it just you can't go all day and throw a frog. Well, you can, but it's just the way like the Ozarks set up. It's very difficult to do that, but it changes the game, and it's constantly evolving. With that. So it's a neat bait.
I'm trying to think of whether it was 2014. I think it might have been 2016. It was a year that, yeah, I think you were in the mix for the Angler of the Year that year. You had a really good year there. But I want to go through these. I think this is the year, but I remember covering the Elite Series, and every single time you had a good tournament, it was on a bladed jig, and it was like, some of it was rock, some of it was grass, some of it was spawn, some of it was early, some of it was late. So like, I think this was the year, the 16 Classic, that Edwin, was that the one that
at Grand?
Yeah, did you throw it there?
No, I threw a wiggle ward, the old school wiggle ward.
Okay, but then you started on the St. Johns River, and I think you threw it there. Winyah Bay, that was no,
that was Pipe and Frog.
Okay, so then it would have been 2014 then. I want to go back to this.
Man, I can tell you because we were staying together. It was at Lake Cayuga.
Yeah,
that's where, and that was
the end of 2014. So like Delaware River, did you throw it there?
No, because I didn't.
Chickamauga, Dardanelle, Toledo Bend.
No.
What was the year that you threw the chatterbait the whole year? Like every single time you caught him, you would come in and be like, "Yeah, I caught him on the bladed jig again."
I don't know. I don't recall that. Like all year long?
Yeah, I vividly remember it.
Okay, well,
because Dave would come in because we were shooting the Gander on tour at the time, and it would be like, Dean threw a bladed jig for 9 hours again today.
I think it was right around 14. That Cayuga event was a big deal. I remember watching the bait and watching the big fish come up behind him to eat it and not get hooked. I mean, because the water was so clear and all the hydrilla, I mean, just beautiful. I mean, and I'm like, how can they not get hooked? I mean, you watch them eat the whole dang thing and then spit it out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that's when I really thought that was the deal. But and the lakes change wherever we're going to. At that time, we're fishing a lot of smallmouth fisheries too. So half the season, we're throwing a drop shot in 35 feet of water. We're dragging a tube. So,
do you mess with the 3/4 ounce, ounce and a quarter, or do you stick with that half ounce and just slow it down?
I stick with the half ounce. The problem, and I think I haven't really got into that, the 3/4 ounce. The half ounce, I believe, is you can do a lot more things. It doesn't you can float it, I guess, flow it through the cover better. The 3/4 ounce, if you get it around rock, it's hard enough with a 1/2 ounce. You know, you're going to get hung up a lot on that deal, and you know, you don't want to lose those baits. They're $15 a piece, so you don't want to be able, you know, you got to be conscious of it. So, like before the season started, I bought about 50 of them, you know, and in all different colors. So like every day is a brand new chatterbait. Okay, I put a fresh one on every day because, you know, crawling around the box and that the hook itself it's not a Gamakatsu. It dulls pretty easily. And so I was constantly, if you watch live, I was constantly, you know, sharpening it, you know, making sure there was a nice, you know, clean point. So that's the only thing about the bait, you know, but you have to buy a lot of them for what we do at our level because they tear up, you know, on that end. But it's like anything else, like my frog, my spur bronzite frog. You catch 10 or 15 bass on it, you know, it shows some wear. Well, heck, man, I mean, who wouldn't trade one bait for one fish on everything you have in your tackle box? I mean, yeah, I would do that, you know. So, you know, it's all relative to what it is. You know, the bait has, you know, its life that you know that it's designed to do, and then you just go buy another one.
I think it would shock people, like, and I've seen you do it before. Like, I mean, you're dropping $1,000 on these things. It's not it's not Brett Height's not like, hey, here's your box of chatterbaits that I got for you or something. Like, I mean, you might get a discount, but you're actually paying like Dean Rojas's money to get a lot of these baits. Like,
yeah, you know, and so like the sponsors understand that, and I've got a great stable of sponsors doing it for a long time. They're like, Dean, we know what you can do. You know, I design a lot of this stuff anyways, but just catch them. All right. If you need something, just get it. If we make it, you know, obviously, you know, use our stuff, which we do, and they got great stuff, but you know, they don't have everything. So they understand that. But they look at the big picture. They see Dean Rojas on camera. They see Spro. Okay. They see Big Bite. They see Gamakatsu. You know, so because of my association with them, it's already inherent because of the partnership that even though I'm, you know, maybe throwing a bait that they don't make, I'm still representing the brand. Yeah. So that is the biggest thing for them, you know, and being able to work closely with your sponsors and have that kind of relationship to where they understand and they're like, Dean, just go win, just do it, you know. And I'm like, okay, cool, here we go, we're gonna go. So like I spend money on stuff that, you know, and gosh, I got so much tackle. I got too much of it. But anyways, when it comes to the tournament stuff, I always tell people, you know, buy Gamakatsu, buy the best hooks, lines, sunline, all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, if you spend an extra few dollars or if you go cheap on stuff, you know, that could cost you thousands. It could cost you a win. It could cost you a big fish pot, whatever it might be. For that moment when I'm competing, when I'm practicing all my lines, you know, it's used. I use practice baits that I've already used. I can't use them during competition, so those are separated. So I have my game day tackle and my practice tackle. So when I go into an event and go into a tournament, everything is brand new. It is the best that it's ever going to be, and prolong, you know, in trying to increase my hookup ratio, my land ratio, you know, to where I have no failure. You know, no broken line, no dull hooks, you know, the rods, the reels are oiled. You know how I work, man. Everything works fluently. And to be at that level to compete, you know, with Jacob, Wheeler, Van Dam, I mean, you can name all those guys. I mean, they are the best. And, you know, and maybe I'm not as good as they are in certain aspects, but I feel like I'm better than them in other aspects as well. You know, and so not everybody's going to be the same, but going against those guys, I know I have to use every advantage that I can to make sure that when I get a bite, it gets in the boat. So you see me when I fight my fish, I don't play around because I've seen, and I've had it too many times where I'm sitting there playing with the darn thing, running around, jumps and comes off. Okay. All the while I could have just lifted him in the boat, you know, got him next to the boat, pinned him in the boat and grabbed him, brought him on in. Mm-hmm. The quicker you can bring him in the boat, the less chance they have of getting off.
Your system is like the easiest out there. And I wouldn't say easiest, I would say most streamlined. Like if you go and look at some guys, it looks like they robbed a Bass Pro Shops, and it's all in their front deck. But like, you're from the time I've known you, you're 15, 20 minutes, retie a few things. Your boat is not full of tackle. It's shockingly simplistic yet sophisticated.
It's efficient. It's efficient.
That's the word.
Is what I like to look at it. And these are baits that, you know, like I remember when I designed the Fighting Frog for Big Bite. I mean, and you saw it, that's all I threw. And that bait is an amazing bait. And, you know, after so long, after so many years, you know, the guys, and there's a cult following. I mean, people love that thing. And there was a time where that's all I threw because it caught them. I mean, all those high finishes that you see on the Bassmasters, when I was, a large percentage of that was off of the Fighting Frog from Big Bite. And, you know, and people would ask me, what do you catch them on? Catch them on the Fighting Frog. And they're like, your frog, your spro frog? I go, no, well, I caught a few on that, but most of them came, you know, flipping or pitching the Fighting Frog. So, and it got redundant after a while. And so, and then you start to hear guys start using it on the tour. You know, they can't tell because of, you know, they end up, you know, buying somebody else's product, but they were using it because it works so well. And so for me, simple is the best, and it's about getting bites, you know, and for that bait, it just gets bit. And so for me, you know, you can throw it anywhere. And I was putting it on the back of a wallowhead, and I was putting it on the back of you know, a chatterbait for a while, you know, or a swim jig. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with that bait that it just, for whatever reason, that's nice subtle action to it. Just the fish love it. And, you know, there'd be a couple things where I'd have a shaky head tied on, you know, or I'd obviously have my frog and a spurbill and the chatterbait. And that's it, because in the areas that I like to fish, you know, more power fishing type thing that I like to do, those are great baits to throw in that environment. So for me, that I'm in my comfort zone. I understand it, you know how the fish react and what they want. So I try to keep it simple. You see my boxes. I do a lot of prep time where you know, Gamakatsu makes those foam hook boxes. They're the best ever for my treble hooks. All of them are perfectly lined up. So every time I go to grab a treble, it's 100%. It's not rolling around in a box, you know, in a crate with all the rough water we go through. It's in a nice, you know, nice foam case where none of the hook points are beating on each other. They're free, and stuff like that. It's those little extra things that mean a lot. And like even in the tournaments when I'm throwing a crankbait or a top water, I change my hooks like 2-3 times a day. You know, like every period I change my hooks. And no matter if I think they're dull, you know, when you sit there and you go, oh, it's sharp, and you're like, oh, you know, I'm gonna change it. And then you put a fresh one on, you're like, damn, that's really sharp. You know, so you not to get complacent, but you look at it when you think it's right, and then you put a fresh one on, and you're like, man, that's the deal right there. It's
you're a big fan of just the straight bronze round bend treble hooks, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, the as old school as you can get with the gammies. Like I know you have thousands of the sizes from 10 all the way up to 1. What's the I mean, they make 5 or 6 different styles. What's the draw for that one to you?
So the first time that Gamakatsu ever came out with that EWG style hook on a treble hook, I put it on a jerkbait, which is probably not the best thing to do. Anyways, I was fishing a tournament, and the fish would swipe at it, right? And I would never hook them. And I'm thinking, this is, you know, the point's nice and sharp, but it's just the way the design of the hook was. I just kept missing them. And so I told Gamakatsu, those are, they go, what do you think of the hook? I said, it's the best practice hook you could ever want, because you don't hook anything, right? So
I use them.
Huh?
I use them all the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just, for whatever reason, I had a negative experience with it in the beginning. And so now I just go to the round bends, and I open them up. You know, I don't like I mean, look, if they're just going to swipe at it, you know, and not get it, if you throw in an EWG style, you're not going to get them. Okay. You will on an open round bend. You will get them in the cheek, you know, on the top of the head or whatever. You get one of them hook points to grab, it's done. You got it. So that's the way I look at it. And, you know, Kevin Van Dam and I mean, we go back and forth on it. And I'm not going to dispute, okay, the millions of wins that he has, and his deal. But
that's the pear shape that he likes.
yes, it's a different deal. And we went back and forth, and I'm like, no, dude, if they even get close to this thing, I'm gonna hook them. Whereas yours, they have to actually eat the bait, on all that. And certain times of the year, they don't eat it; they just swipe at it. So, and if they eat it, I'm gonna catch them as well. So. I like the round bends, even like the bronze. Even Gamakatsu makes a black one, which is beautiful. It looks
what the
pretty.
rock crawler comes on.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, drawn to bronze, and
yeah.
That's and Sid, which you're gonna have on tomorrow. He was like, man, we don't even make that anymore. Everything's going to black, and I go, I know, but you got any more bronze?
Oh, great! I probably shouldn't have brought that up then.
So,
I didn't know that.
But
I do it too because you do. I've got a bunch of them. I'll use the EWGs. I'm not as. I still think they catch it, but I'm like, well, Dean always uses the bronze. That's all he has. Thousands, just big mound of different bronzes. So, but it's beautiful. The simplistic approach that you take. I was trying to think who else is simple. I don't want to call it simple. I want to call it efficient. Who else is efficient like that on tour? And I would say, I've heard a lot of people say Casey Ashley is.
Well, Andy Morgan. I would say.
Really? Andy doesn't carry a ton of stuff?
No, nothing. If you watch him fish, it's the most simple thing. It's a spinner bait, a jig, something to flip with, and a bladed jig. And you'll see him with a spinning rod every now and again, but he's the most kind person and just happy all the time and nonchalant, not about, hey man, look at me, I'm this and that, just a good dude that's out there and freaking catches them. Everywhere we go, he catches them. And just a phenomenal fisherman, just, very passive and just kind-hearted. And, and you're like, how do you do it? He's like, oh, just go down the bank and just do this and that. And, but all those Tennessee boys like that, straight are the same way. They're really good at what they do. And, Andy's not loud. Wesley wears a lot of loud clothes and stuff, which is cool. It's his deal. Wesley's awesome. And, but Andy's just real quiet, and just kind of goes about his business and whoops your butt, so it's cool.
Last year you jumped in, or you started with and fished some of the pro circuit events. Just at this point of your career, did you get to a point where you were like, you know what, between everything there is with the BPT, I don't need to add another 2 months on the road to my life?
Yeah, and it was one of those things, Matt, where we've been on the Bass Pro Tour for 3 or 4 years. And we purchased FLW and combined it. And they wanted some stars, to fish those events, and I had no problem. And I wanted to fish the 5-fish format a little bit. I wanted to see how I would shake out on it again. And what it really did to me is it really solidified that is archaic. Everything that you do for a 5-fish format, and I know you do that. But once you fish at our level, on the way we do, we catch, weigh, and release, and you don't have to worry about weigh-ins. You don't have to worry about culling. My hands don't hurt. I don't get stuck all the time. And then, racing to go into weigh-in, and carrying these fish around for 8 or 9 hours. Those are the things that I disliked, about the way we used to do it. Look, I grew up doing it, so it's not like, I still like fishing for 5 fish. I just don't like all the stuff that goes around with it because of the health of the bass and the stuff that you put them through, and what I put them through for all those years. When you fish the Bass Pro Tour, any of the catch, weigh, and release, it changes every aspect of that. And so between that and fishing another 150 guys on the water, as opposed to, the smaller fields when we had, the Bass Elites and then obviously the Bass Pro Tour. And then the guys coming in on you. All that stuff that goes on at that lower level doesn't happen on the high level. So, and to be honest with you, I just got tired, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, I did this for 20 years, and I don't need to do this. I can just, I need to stay at the top level, just fish a lot, stay sharp. And I just, I miss my wife, miss my kids, because I was on the road for 6 weeks, and not without even coming home. It's not like, living back there where you can drive home. I, have to fly back home, or, it was just the sponsor stuff, all of that. It was just too much. And I was just like, you know what? And I wasn't having fun. And, I just said, you know what? I'm good. I don't really care to fish a 5-fish, limit anymore on the top tier level. I think that I know this, you ask the guys who fish Bass Pro Tour, just everything about what we do is top notch. And so for me, that's where I want to be. And it's the future of our industry, of our sport. Red Crest was a huge success with the watch party. So we proved that we can do it without a weight.
I thought Red Crest went really good. I had Ken Duke on last week. We talked about it, and we thought it went really well. It's just crazy to me, like you, dude. Like it's just weird. Like you're known for the biggest 5-fish limit of all time. Like you have the 5 fish that are there, and like, and now, I mean, it's a different part of your career, and you're transitioning. But like that's a big part of your legacy, dude.
Absolutely. That's why I don't mind doing it. But like Matt, you tournament fish. Are you stressed out that your fish are going to die?
Maybe once or twice a year. Maybe once or twice a year.
Oh, wow. Well,
but you also have to remember, I've got a lot of 2.5 pounders, and I'm typically in a marina.
Okay.
So I'm dealing with fish that are hardy, and there's not generally a long run. But no, like I said, I 100% see where it's from. And we've seen what Bass does on Lake Fork to get around the slot limit by doing the catch weigh release. And I think if it goes more towards that, I think you might see more 5-fish catch weigh release cull in the future, like it is on the Lake Fork event, or bring one of them in for research, or something like that. But listen, I've never been a guy who's like, this is the way it was, this is the way it has to be, this is the way it needs to be. If you look at from the time that Ray Scott started this thing, it's always evolved, it's always changed. It's been 8 fish, it's been 5 fish. This tournament that I just fished in the St. Jude, it was 6 fish, and it was totally screwed with my mind. I was like, I have no idea if we have a good bag or not. And I like had the 5, and then was trying to add the extra one, but they totally changed the game plan and strategy of going, we had a 2-pound, 2.5. It's the whole thing is evolving and changing. And just like the BPT was starting out at a pound, and then having a variable weight, and then kind of settling on 2, but then having heavy hitters that's 3. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. But I also think that some of the subtlety is overlooked in how much the strategy changes when you do change the impact. Like, dude, you had a tough time adjusting to it. Like you were a 5-fish guy. Like, I mean, you're still not fully adjusted to it. Mm-hmm. Fair point?
You're exactly right. I mean, that's a great point, Matt, because for I've been doing it for so long a certain way, but I was getting bored. All right. I mean, and at that time, the climate was not a very positive one, and I speak for a lot of anglers, and I think a lot of them needed a change because the industry needed to change. Something needed to happen, and what happened, and you look at that and how it invigorated. If you look at a Stephen Browning, all right, as a perfect example of that man was probably he was just he wasn't even a factor a lot of times. Now he's
dominating force on the BPT.
And you look at a lot of those guys who excel at that, and so and vice versa. There's still guys who struggle with it, and you just may have to adapt and move on. But for us, as long as you have an open mind and want to be better, and to embrace that, then you'll find a way. But if you're stuck in your ways and you can't make the adjustments, you're going to fall by the wayside. Mm-hmm. And so it's no different. You have to make the adjustments that you do. And I still I don't feel 100%, of like what I'm doing is the right thing to be doing. I'm still working through it all, but I'm closer than I was. Okay. When I won, it was a shad spawn deal, and the frogging deal, flipping deal, no bed fish, just shallow fishing. But I understood that I needed to catch as many as I possibly could, and how to don't lay off them, just catch as many as you can, get to the next round, And early on, I would save them, like we're supposed to do, on a 5-fish format, and manage them. Well, it ain't about managing now. It's catch them, weigh them, and release them as quickly as you can. So you got to have baits, you have techniques, you have, the way you cover the water, the way you adjust everything, and you're constantly evaluating the situation you're in, if it's the right one or not. And so it's for your mind, it's sharper. And then, the score tracker. I mean, I want to know every single fish that's caught. Like, so when I have my boat official there, and I said, if somebody catches one, I need to know about it. And because there are guys that that are tagged with things that they like to do, and you can use that knowledge, to make better decisions on the water by listening to score track. I mean, like a Zach Burge, those guys, Michael Neal, whatever it is, those guys, they have a certain way of catching them. And that's probably a good chance that's what's happening. So you can make adjustments on the fly. I'm not saying jump their hole, but you can make adjustments to where you're fishing.
This guy's strengths. This is probably what he's doing. I need to maybe in the area of the lake that I'm in, try to figure that out. Like a Andy Morgan. Like, I mean, if I see Andy Morgan up there, and the water's high and it's a little bit off colored, I'm probably gonna pick up a jig and go to the bank.
Yeah, I mean, it's and that's not like you're just being observant, and opening your mind to all this information, and having to shuffle through it all and to help you make a better decision on the water. And so I've embraced that, and that's what I want to do. And some of the guys don't even want to hear anything. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how they're fast. Some guys get on little spurts, and it doesn't bother me because I've gotten my butt kicked many times where I caught like three pounds for the day. All right. And the guys caught like 60, it is very, very, I wouldn't say degrading, but it hurts really bad when you can't catch nothing. And those guys are just creaming them.
Yeah, so going into this thing, I thought you guys were like, hey, you're never out of it. You can always go on a run and get back. I am of the opposite opinion after getting into this and really looking at it. I think you can get absolutely destroyed in the BPT format, and you're always 3 or 4 bites away in the 5-fish format. Like you physically cannot get more than 5 bites behind. And I know that you can make that up, but like, dude, you can get beat by 100 pounds. Like, I know they could. Oh well, you could come back. No, you ain't coming back from that when Jacob Wheeler's catching them every third cast, and you've got 2 and you're up the river. Like, you can get mopped, and you can, like, a bad day gets exposed on the BPT. Whereas a bad day, you're 1 or 2 casts from saving it. Like, I can't tell. Like, how many times did you come in on the 5-fish and be like, man, if it wasn't for that 1 bite, it would be a totally different day, and people don't know that I only had 4 bites or 5 bites today. Like, it's you can get. I know they say, hey, it's exciting, everybody's still in it, but I think there's less people in it and more people in the 5-fish format. Like, after having watched it and seeing what's happened in the Classic too, like the last couple years with the comebacks, we've seen the last 10 years of the Classic too on a 3-day tournament. Now, granted, it takes it the longer the tournament, the more it averages out. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, and that's why it's different. And they're not the same in the aspect of it. Yes, you are correct on the 5-fish deal. And a lot of times where you caught, 16, 17 pounds, and that's all you had was the 5 bites. You may have caught, 8 or 9 fish that weighed 16 pounds on the Bass Pro Tour, whatever it is. But once you fish the format, it makes you better. It makes you want to be better, because it's all about catching them, and it's all about moving up the leaderboard and physically watching yourself climb the ladder. You don't get that when you're fishing outside of maybe the Toyota Texas Bass Classic there on Lake Fork that Bass does. So outside of that, you don't know. You don't know where everybody's at. So how do you know if you're doing the right thing or not? When you know that Jacob Wheeler has caught 60 pounds, okay, you know how fast you got to be fishing to catch 60 pounds?
Yeah, I've watched him. It's pretty dang fast.
Yeah, so he's not throwing a worm in 40 feet of water. You know what I mean? So
no, he's on a school of gosh dang goodness.
Exactly. So you got to know that. So you would know that. You're like, well, he's obviously around a group of fish, or he's got something figured out. And and he'll mix it up. He does a little bit of everything.
You went R2D2 for a second there. Lean in just a second. It just got super tinny. Talk now. Just lean in and talk.
Test 1 2.
I don't know. You went R2D2. No, I can still hear you. We can still hear you. It's got a little Star Wars vibe to it.
You must have did something to it, man.
I didn't do anything. I don't want to end it on that. I want to bring it back in and get your thoughts on a couple of things to end. So just go ahead and log out and then log back in during the final commercial break, and then we'll wrap things up. I've really enjoyed today. Dean. It's been a good conversation. So, like I said, during the commercial break, just log out, log back in, and hopefully, like I said, we could hear you. It just sounded like that. Like who's the little character that does that? That.
That's R2. Orange.
Yeah, see, that you sound exactly like him now. All right, just log back out, click back in. We'll wrap things up. BTL on a Monday with Dean Rojas.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. 2 sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-Bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Get that beast right there.
Welcome back to BTL on a Monday. Hopefully we got the audio back with you, Dean.
How's that sound good?
Yeah, we can make that work to close things out. I think I've got a little bit of an echo now too, but no, it's been good. Like, dude, one of the things I wanted to think when I kind of took over BTL this year is I wanted to have more of the conversations that we have around a steak, around the grill, after a tournament, on the phone, traveling to events. Like, that's the stuff, like, you get off the phone with someone and they're saying, well, what about this? And I'm going, yeah, that, you know, like the real kind of conversations where you get into it, where you're going, man, I'm struggling this year with it, or the motivation, or here's some of the things that I've learned, or here's, and And there are so many of those good conversations that take place. And I'm like, man, if you could just like clean that up a little bit, because some of the guys that you have those conversations with, you really have to work through the colorful language for it. But I'm like, that is what the fans of fishing want to hear. The behind the scenes where they're like, dude, this is the same stuff that I'm talking about on the way home from the Wednesday night jackpot or having a beer on Saturday in the Bass Club, after we just had a 20 boat tournament. Like it's cool. It's the same stuff, just on a different level. And it's how you make your living as opposed to fun. But at the crux of it, these are all conversations that you have across the board for years. And I think that really helps how the sport evolves.
Yeah, it's a great point on that, Matt. And the beauty of all that, what you just said, is it's unscripted. Okay. There's no topic. It's just guys getting around, talking about certain things and, recalling a funny story or, what happened on the water today or, watching, something, because we see a lot of stuff on the water that people don't. And so you see a lot of nature things that happen, ospreys diving in front of you, trying to get a fish and, bald eagles, golden eagles, all that stuff. You see everything, deer, you see all kinds of, life out there. And those are the stories that people want to hear about the other anglers and, that they know somebody or, and you get to know them outside of, competing at, what we do every week. Then they become a person just like you and me, to where we can have a beer and talk about stuff and it knocks the edge off. And next thing you know, you're laughing, you're telling jokes and it's the camaraderie of it all, of just, being in the moment, being in an environment that you share, you love the passion for fishing. You love the camaraderie, just hanging around with guys, telling stories and being, in a different state, and here in America. It could be in New York, it could be Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, wherever you are, you're not at home, you're somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And hanging out with guys who are of your liking, and stuff. It's a great thing. And I've gotten so many friends across the whole country. I've met, hundreds of thousands of people and throughout my whole career, and just wonderful, caring people that just want to help. And I really just want to see the good and the fact that they get to speak to you and visit with you and tell me their frog stories, on all that stuff. I love that part of it because we have a connection. We share something that we both love. And that's what we do as a professional. Is we're supposed to, embrace that and talk to these people, because these are our customers for, the companies that we represent. And a lot of that stuff, a lot of the stories you say can be, they're not PG rated, obviously. So at times it can be very, very funny, but a lot of things go on that people don't see, and it's what you talk about. It's those, but that's what makes it fun.
I really don't know how to go about this, but I got a text from Ken Duke during the show, Dean, and it's kind of fitting that we just kind of talked about that and the personal relationships and the bonds and the stories and the lifetime memories. And Ken informed me that Ray Scott passed away last night. Ray Scott, obviously the founder of Bass, the single most influential individual, the reason that I have a job, the reason that you have a job, the reason that this industry exists. Obviously don't know any details, but I did confirm that with Ken Duke, and wanted to definitely talk about that on today's show. Like I said, I got that message about 15-20 minutes ago. Ray's the only reason that I was ever in the industry. I got into it when Helen Sevier owned Bass, and they had the youth programs there before the juniors. It was the Casting Kids program, how I got involved into it, which led to a career. And I remember getting Ray Scott and Forrest Wood's autograph simultaneously. Back then, they both had the cowboy hats on and were both hanging out. But I know Ray's had a tough go of it the last couple of years, kind of in and out. But I don't want to spring it on you or put it. I didn't know if you knew that news, but kind of some of your thoughts of Ray and what he's meant, just kind of initially.
Yeah, Matt, I got the text as well. I think we all owe him a great debt of gratitude for him providing, the platform for all of us to chase our dreams, as well as he did as well with him by building the Bass brand and doing a tremendous job with that and creating, everything about it, and to where now we have a thriving industry that is surrounded and that is directly affected by the organization that he created. And so to be, to have him, have that vision and pioneering through it all and making bass fishing as big as it is today, I think that we all should tip our hat to him, because, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. I'd be probably working a construction job or whatever. I don't know. But he gave thousands of people their dream of working in an industry that they love,
He created the industry. That dream didn't exist beforehand. It wasn't like he gave him the opportunity. He built the industry and created a dream that didn't exist before.
Mm-hmm. That's why we should all be so grateful and thankful. And it's sad to see it go. And I've spoken to Ray many times over the course of my career, and always a showman, always professional, always had a great story, and just an iconic man that I look back on. I'm like, man, thank God he put this thing together. That way, we can fish for a living and do what we do in every aspect. So he brought so many great things to the table and created a lot of avenues, with the casting kids and the federation, the buildup of the classic, the showmanship, everything. He was like the Ric Flair, of wrestling, in a good way, very classy, he dressed really nice, but he the perception that he put out to the people and to the public was a positive one about how good it is, to be, fishing and how wholesome it is, and a family oriented, sport that everybody can enjoy, whether you're fishing for bluegill, crappie, bass, walleye, whatever it might be. That it's all about, the competition and then that aspect, on the bass side, but just bringing it up to mainstream, with the magazine, the Bassmaster magazine, I've had that ever since I was a little kid. And so they're always informative, and we have all of that to thank, for Ray Scott, and it's a sad day. But it's in a way you want to celebrate it and think about and reminisce about all the great things that he brought to us. And and for me, there's way more positive stuff that I remember him from than anything that could be negative. And so I'm truly grateful personally, and I'm just it's a sad day, but let's celebrate it too in a way.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that are veterans now that don't know what it's like to cross the stage and have Ray pat you on the back and kind of be the MC and call it out. But that's what it was. Your whole first half of your career was Ray Scott on the stage.
Yeah, Ray Scott, and I'll never forget it, Matt, because when they brought the invitationals out here in '98, he came out for those and emceed them, which was a pivotal point in bringing the Western guys together. And the original crop of guys of Skeet and Ish and myself were the original three. Aaron came a year later, but Ray was at all of our invitationals and gave the Western invitationals the validity of bass, of being a professional league at that time, and still is. I'm just saying, because we never had anything out west, so everything was below what bass does. You know what I mean? Because bass was such at a high level. It still is. I'm not downplaying. I'm just saying that's what they did or do. And so he gave that validity for it, and it was a dream to walk across the stage and have him ask you questions and stuff. And because I grew up watching him as a kid, and now I'm speaking to the man, and and then after that making the classic and all those years, and then watching the transformation of him not emceeing. We had Fishburne for a while, and we had Keith up there for a while. Dave Mercer. They all did great jobs. At that time, during that time frame, and so. But I think a lot of it, the showmanship of the classiness of Ray Scott, what he brought early on, set the foundation for all those guys. On how to introduce an angler to the stage. Yeah. And all have different ways of doing it. They're all great announcers. They do a great job at it. And, we should, like I said, it's just the foundation's there. It's just a matter of us building up off of that.
I mean, he's the single most important being that there has been in the industry ever. I mean, he created the industry. The industry didn't exist. I mean, there were like guys who got together and had tournaments, and in those tournaments, I remember that I've read it. The cheating was rampant. And they bring in the frozen fish, and he was the first guy to come in. And then you started talking about the conservation with the live wells and the safety with the kill switch and the life jackets and the way that the tournaments were run, the entry fees, the payback, turning these guys into superstars that could make a living at it. And then a lot of those guys early on, I think a lot of people forget. I think Johnny Morris fished 6 Bassmaster Classics, Tom Mans, all these bait companies that started as these guys who were buddies with Ray, and Ray gave them that platform to do that, to catch the fish using these baits, and then to create legacies and companies based off of this thing that Ray started. It's crazy. Yeah, he was a showman. I mean, I remember when I filmed the documentary with Steve Kennedy, who walked into the place on Toomer's corner there, and the guy said, "Yeah, I remember he's run the deal there." He's like, "I remember when Ray Scott would come in and he had the cowboy hat and he'd try to get people in the store and sell. Like, he's always been a salesman. Like, that's always been part of him. The tassels, the grandiose, but it's a fishing tournament. It's crazy it's crazy to think of what his vision was with a fishing tournament and what he turned it into, and it seems like normal for us now. Like, that wasn't normal. Like, that was what he had in his head. And yeah, like I said, you go through iterations. You go through an ESPN run deal where they try to turn it into a NASCAR. You go through a purchase of, you go through the Irwin Jacobs and the early FLW where they try to bring in, the Walmart and the camera angles and all that. You go through the purchase of the MLF where you guys are trying to do, but like, dude, that was all Ray, man.
Absolutely. And that's a great point, Matt, because you look at the boat manufacturers, the bass boat manufacturers, all of those, that is the foundation of where those boat companies founded from. If we didn't have Bass, we didn't have Ray Scott in the vision, engine, outboard, same thing, it could be Suzuki, Yamaha, Mercury, it doesn't matter what it is, especially on the boats as well, trolling motors. Everything that we do, on that gets put on a bass boat is because of the platform that Ray created on that end, and it's a probably $1 billion deal. It's huge, the fishing industry. So we have, like I said, a lot to be thankful for, and it's just, I hope that he's in a good place now, and he's not hurting, and that he'll always be there. I'll always remember it, and I think a lot of people do as well, that are in the sport, and he's been well recognized, obviously, for all of the great things he's done. Yeah. So it's a good deal.
And I'm sure we'll do a lot more on this show and have this. Like I said, this is kind of something that came on during the show, so I appreciate your kind words for that, Dean. But 106 guys, $100 entry fee for that first All-American Bass Tournament in June 1967 on Beaver Lake. Well, it turned into where we're live streaming you from Arizona, and I make my living talking about bass fishing. It's all because of Ray. So a 2001 inductee into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, born in 1933. So I know, like I said, I know that he'd been struggling with his health kind of recently. I just hope that he had a comfortable chair somewhere and was able to be coherent to watch Jason Christie throw that hat on stage and get in one of the most exciting classics that I can remember in the past decade. So, like I said, if you have a copy of it, open up Bass Boss, crack a cold one, and put on your tasseled vest, and spend a little bit of time thinking about Ray today. So,
yeah, it's I'm sure that was one of the first texts I got. So they're starting to pile in now. But it's just one of those things. The fishing community is such a tight knit group, especially for the guys who've been doing it a long time, and it's just we're always in communication with each other. So. Yeah, it's be a lot of stories like we talked about today.
I'm saying this. I'm closing the show out on this, and it's a little bit of a rant, but I'm going to say it. Fishing is in a very unique place right now because we just talked about it. We just did a show about evolving and changing and pros and cons. Like, dude, if you come into baseball, that's like baseball, and that's how it is. If you come into basketball, it's basketball, and that's how it is. It's not like you're there with, like, was it William Naismith who's like drawing the thing up at Harvard or whatever it was, or you're inventing a three. Like, the people who invented this, the best to have ever done. Like, Rick Clunn is still active. David Fritz is still fishing. The early classic champs, like, this is something that is 60 years old, but like the original guys are not only still alive, they're like active. Like, you can go see Bill Dance and Roland Martin, watching Scott Martin weigh in the classic this year. And I know, we lost a legend a year or two ago in Forrest Wood. And dude, when that's gone, like, those stories are gone. And the only way is to get these stories recorded, understand their significance and their relevance, so then you can put it into context for the duration of this. Like, dude, in 20 years, in 10 years, like in 5 years, who knows how many of these people that right now, it's not like, well, here's an article about the first tournament on B. No, you can go to a guy who fished in the dang thing. He could say, this is what it was like. This is what Ray said. This is what we did. This is why I did it. I mean, Bob Cobbs, the list goes on and on like that. But like I said, I have Ken Duke on a lot, and I think that what he's doing and a couple other people, what Terry Battisti's doing with the Bass Fishing Archives, like, it's not a sexy, glamorous job. It's like bass fishing history. But if it's what you make your living doing, if it's your true passion and why you do it, that stuff's super important. And to get this stuff while these people are still around, so you can understand the importance and relevance of why we do what we do, kind of when we do it. So that's kind of my piece to end the show. That's really driven home with the news of Ray Scott.
Yeah, that's very well said. And I think you know what to do. I mean, with you and Mark doing the 20-foot deep series. That shows those stories that you just mentioned that nobody would know about, and that you could share, some of the things that go on, outside of, what we do, and it's documented. And so, Mark's done a great job, as well as you, Matt. You're a great journalist, and you understand it and you respect it. And so it's just part of the documentation, like you're saying, is important. For the history and the lore of what we do as in the fishing community. And so the fact that they're documenting, doing all that stuff is good. And I think about it all the time. And at all of our events, we have a big Aaron Martins thing at a tribute every launch ramp, and every time you pull your boat out, you see him. And so it's like, you're like, man, life is so precious. It's just like, we grew up together, 90 miles away. I mean, I've been fishing since I was 17, and you always expect him to see him there, and he's still there, it just reminds you of Aaron. And like I said, how precious it is just to be able to do, and I'm so fortunate to be where I'm at in my career, still doing what I love to do. And, and obviously he had a ton of knowledge, and he taught a lot of people and did a lot of great things. And and it's not like you can go up there and ask him anymore. It's, whatever's out there is out there. But at least it was documented. There's a lot of it was documented. I mean, he made me better. He made, do things, that I needed to up my game, and he helped me with that. And those are all things that, you just, like you said, they're gone. I mean, once it's not there anymore. So now you're having to work through it yourself. And people ask me all the time, I help them what they need to do too. But, it's just, man, just hug the ones that are around you, be appreciative, be happy, and love. And we get to be in an industry that we love to be around. And that's why I smile a lot, because I'm just happy to be alive and happy to be out here fishing and representing my brands and competing at the highest level of bass fishing, and talk to you, Matt, longtime friend. So
it is. It's perspective, man. That's a weird word, perspective, because I feel like you almost have to lose perspective to be in the top 1% of something. But I think the ones who get there and stay up there understand that there is a perspective to it, and it really doesn't matter if you're catching all 2-pounders or 5 3-pounders, or who owns the organization or how it went down. Like Aaron Martin's was Aaron Martin's. It didn't matter what the moniker behind the name was, and I think everyone understood that and brought a lot of people together. And I think the same is the same for Ray, regardless of where you fish or what you fish. Like, I think everyone owes him equally for his contribution and what he did to the sport. But like I said, perspective, Dean, and it's weird. I never thought I would say that, but in my older age, you kind of get a little bit of perspective, man, and that's good. It's wild stuff.
Yeah, because once you get older, you'll even do it more, and it's, for me now, I get more joy helping people. That before, when you're trying to make it in an industry and whatever you're trying to do, you're just like grinding. You want it so bad, and then you see the older guys, and all they want to do is talk and hang out and visit. And you're like, I don't have time for that, man. I got to do da. Well, now I'm realizing why, and your whole mindset starts to change and evolve, and you end up having more enjoyment watching certain things happen because you know the significance of it. And you've lived through it already and know how special it was, or man, I'm glad that happened, and it's hard to explain. And I know your audience is a little bit older like I am, and I think we can all share that. And you and I have gone round and round a lot of times, and with a lot of back and forth debating, we'll put it that way. And so, but see you evolve and change. Now you're running the show now, doing a great job. Your viewership's way up, and so I'm proud of you, Matt. I think it's so cool that you finally grabbed the bull by the horns and are making something work like this. And you did a great job journal-wise, but to watch you in action, you are smooth. You're great on the mic. And you ask the right questions because that's who you are as a journalist.
That's all things. I mean, it's like I said, it's all because of Ray Scott. Like I'm fishing all 9 of the opens, and like I said, I've had like a little bit of a come to Jesus moment because I'm like 4 years into this thing, and I've had some frustrating moments. I've had some success. I have it, and you sit back and you're like, why do you want it? Why do you want to fish all 9 opens and spend all of the money? Just like, why do you want to be on tour and travel for so long and do it? I mean, you reach a point where you've got a family and a mortgage and a house, and it's like, this is your job. But I don't have to do that right now. Like, I'm trying to figure out like what is the meaning behind like so what if I catch a fish if it doesn't like fulfill you in some aspect of life, whether it's it's just weird trying to figure out like where that fits, why it's important, and how you can hyper focus on something. And I know it's not just bass fishing, it's in every aspect of life and success, but just trying to like find some meaning. So like, so what? Like if you're miserable, no one likes you, and you're good at catching fish, like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there a point to that? Like, isn't it about like experiences and the impact that you're leaving?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the bottom line is that, and it could be for your viewers as well, just be happy with what you do. I mean, love what you do. And if it's something that brings you joy and you have a true passion and you love it, you have a right to be happy. You have that choice. If you want to be miserable, you can be miserable. You can think things positively. You can think, I mean, whatever you want. That's the beauty of it. You decide, how you want to feel, and the vision. If fishing the opens and qualifying for it, you enjoy that, and you see yourself, I want to make, the Bassmaster Elite Series. That's where I want to be, and it makes you happy. Then that's what you need to do. And it's going to be tough getting there, and we all do. And so, but at some point, you're going to sit there and go, you know what? What am I doing here? I'm not really, I can't get there, or whatever. I'm not using this example. I'm just saying that other things too, and it becomes a negative experience.
Yeah, you have to make sure you're. I guess what I've come to realize the last is I need to make sure I'm growing along the journey. So when I make it, like I'm convinced I want to, but that there's meaning behind it to where I'm a better person and evolve as a human being because of it. Not just I achieved a goal, but but there's no meaning behind it. Or if I don't make it, I want to be able to say the same thing. Boy, I really evolved as a human being. There was meaning behind that. It helped, fulfill my life and made me a better human, whether you make it or not.
Right. But look at where you're at right now, Matt. You just drove 12 hours from Minnesota to be at your show.
That was so dumb. I should have been like, Dean, let's do it at noon.
But the fact that you did all that great work for St. Jude and all those great people up there raised a bunch of money, and you drove 12 hours to get to Oklahoma to be on the show with me this morning. And then I look at a man that's prioritized everything now, whereas 2, 3, 4 years ago, that was not the same person. But that's okay. But it's like I said, it's cool watching you because you're evolving into who you are as a person and as a professional and what you do at this level. And so I think it's like everybody's different on when they figure out what is right for them, and then once they got it, they got it.
Like Ray got it. Like Ray got it. Like, could you imagine the vision that Ray had in his head for this thing, trying to explain to people? It's hard to explain to someone who doesn't fish, like what you do, like what the Elite Series is, what the BPT is. They watch it, they're like, this is insanity. Like, I mean, like you can't explain it to someone who doesn't understand it. This guy had it in his head in 1960s.
I know, and the fact that so many people, he must have got asked, so what are you doing again? Yeah. Bass. I mean,
fishing?
People say that 5 million times and explain himself. And
they're going to pay how much?
Yeah. Hey, breaking news.
Can you imagine how many people told him that's a dumb idea?
Yeah, it'll never work. Yeah. It's heard that many times too. So, but hey, to stay the course, man. That's what he did. And today, it's like I said, I hope he's in a good place right now. And
like I said, pick up a copy of Bass Boss, put on the tasseled vest, and spend a couple hours with Ray. And I'm sure we'll have more, and there'll be a lot of more news that comes out about this. But Dean, it's been a great show, and an hour and 40 minutes with you. I greatly appreciate the time, enjoyed it. We got to do it again more often. I got to get KJ on here at some point in the future
you got to have both of us on it, because there's some early on stories when I broke the record on that morning, and that whole run in 2001, because we were staying together that whole time, and we shared. I could tell you some weird stuff that went on. That
all about weird stuff.
It was weirdness, and it was cool from Toledo when I won after the phone ringing and nobody on the line, and because my alarm didn't go off. I mean, stories like that, I would have missed takeoff. I mean, just stuff like that where there's some weird stuff that happened that 2001, man. And I think KJ would be cool to have him on the show, and we can just talk about that.
Let's do it after iCast.
Yeah, that'd be good. Mm-hmm. Anytime.
All right, Dean. I usually do like another segment and then bring it out, but like I said, I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed it today. This has been BTL on a Monday. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Sid Reeves from Spro. We'll talk to you guys later.